Hello, it's us again, and our companions who never sleep. Have you ever felt like your phone understands you better than your significant other? It knows you've had a terrible day and automatically suggests a Lana Del Rey playlist. It knows you're lonely and immediately pushes 17 videos of kittens doing silly things onto your feed. It knows what you're thinking, what you want to watch, what you want to listen to, before you even realize it yourself. But it's also a slightly clueless best friend. You just searched for how to unclog a toilet, and for the next week, every ad you see is for the latest plungers and state-of-the-art drain cleaners. Thank you, but I have no intention of pursuing this as a career, or the autocorrect feature, which turns a text of "I love you" to your partner into "I love your mom." An entirely unwanted escalation of affection that could lead to serious family misunderstandings. We are living in a love-hate relationship with algorithms. They are both our soulmate and an annoying child. But have you ever wondered, does this convenience, this understanding, come at a price? Are we controlling technology, or is technology quietly programming us? One choice, one emotion at a time. Before we dive deep into this matrix, let's tune into the same frequency. Please press subscribe to lock in our frequency for next time. Click the little bell, like a gentle ping, signaling that you are ready to listen. And most importantly, leave a comment and let me know, what's the weirdest or funniest thing an algorithm has ever suggested to you? Thank you. Now, let's begin our journey into the heart of the machine, to see how this invasion began, not with guns and bullets, but with a much sweeter promise, the promise of convenience. The Trojan horse and the seduction of convenience. Let's do a little time travel. No machine needed, just your memory. Let's go back to a time not so long ago, maybe the late 90s or early 2000s. A much dumber world. That was a time when, to call a friend, you had to actually remember their phone number, or at least flip through a thick address book. That was a time when, to get to an unfamiliar place, you had to use a paper map the size of a blanket, struggle to fold it back correctly, and sometimes roll down your car window to ask a stranger for directions. An act that today seems almost like a personal failure. That was a time when, to watch a movie, you had to wait until exactly 8 p.m. on a Saturday on a specific channel, and the whole family would watch it together. And during the commercials, there was no skip ad button, no binge watching. It was a slower world, a world that demanded patience, memory, and even a few social skills to survive. A world where our brains had to do a lot of work on their own. Then one day, the machines started learning to do that work for us. The first milestones, when machines began to think. The invasion didn't happen overnight. It was a gradual process, beginning with milestones that, at the time, we only saw as incredible technological achievements. In 1997, the world held its breath watching a chess match. On one side was Garry Kasparov, the world champion, a mind considered the greatest in the history of the sport. On the other side was Deep Blue, an IBM supercomputer. And then, the unthinkable happened. Deep Blue won. It wasn't just the defeat of a chess player. It was a symbolic shock. For the first time in history, a machine had defeated human intellect in a field that required creativity, strategy, and depth of thought. A fortress of humanity, once thought impregnable, had fallen. At the same time, in another corner of the digital world, a quieter revolution was taking place. Companies like Amazon began using algorithms to recommend books to you. People who bought this book also bought. Netflix started building its movie recommendation system, promising to find the perfect film for your evening. At first, they seemed quite naive. Their suggestions were often way off. But we didn't realize something important. They were learning. With every click, every movie you watched, every product you bought, you were feeding them a piece of data. You were becoming the teacher for the very machines that would later shape your life. They weren't just selling products. They were starting to learn about your tastes, your habits, about you as a person. The psychology of cognitive offloading. Why were we so willing to grant machines so much power? The answer lies in a psychological concept called cognitive offloading. Our brain, though extraordinary, is incredibly lazy. It's an evolutionary trait to save energy for important tasks like hunting, survival. The brain always looks for ways to offload unnecessary cognitive tasks to the external environment. We've been doing this for ages. Writing a shopping list on a piece of paper is a form of cognitive offloading. You don't need to remember the items anymore. The paper will remember for you. And then, the smartphone appeared. It became the perfect external brain. We offload our sense of direction to Google Maps. We offload our memory of events to Google Calendar. We offload remembering our friends' birthdays to Facebook. We even offload the decision of what to listen to, watch, or read to the algorithms of Spotify, Netflix, and TikTok. This convenience frees our minds from trivial burdens. It allows us to focus on other things, but it also raises a worrying question as we continuously offload our cognitive skills. Are those skills atrophying? Like an unused muscle, is our ability to remember, to navigate, and even to make our own decisions slowly weakening? Are we becoming smarter because of our tools, or are we becoming more dependent and cognitively lazy? AI as a Trojan horse, and this is where the big picture emerges. The invasion of AI wasn't a frontal assault. It was exactly like the story of the Trojan horse. We, the people of Troy, saw a beautiful gift left at our city gates. It was the sleek smartphone, the useful apps, the free entertainment platforms. We marveled at its beauty and utility. We cheerfully threw open the gates of our lives and welcomed it inside. We gave it a place of honor in our living rooms, carried it in our pockets, and placed it by our bedsides. We were completely unaware that inside that wooden horse was an entire army. An army of algorithms, lines of code, artificial neural networks, and in the night, while we were sound asleep, that army silently poured out. They didn't destroy our city with fire. They rebuilt it in a completely new way. They changed the roads we travel, the music we listen to, the friends we make, the opinions we believe. They changed how we feel about ourselves, how we connect with others, and how we see the world. The invasion has already happened, and we were the ones who opened the gates. The seduction of convenience is an irresistible invitation, but what is its price? When these machines not only learn our preferences but also begin to learn how to hack the most primal reward system in our brains. What happens next? That's when the real domination begins, not in the outside world, but inside our minds. Of course, after we willingly opened the city gates for the Trojan horse of convenience. Let's see how the army inside began its silent conquest. So, the invasion has already happened, and we were the ones who opened the gates. The seduction of convenience is an irresistible invitation, but what is its price? When these machines not only learn our preferences but also begin to learn how to hack the most primal reward system in our brains. What happens next? That's when the real domination begins, not in the outside world, but inside our minds. The ghost in the machine and the dopamine addiction. Let's talk about one of the most powerful chemicals in the brain, dopamine. We often hear it called the happiness hormone, but that's a misconception. Dopamine is not the chemical of liking or pleasure. It is the chemical of wanting, of anticipation, of the urge. Imagine it this way. The feeling of satisfaction when you eat a piece of chocolate cake is not dopamine. Dopamine is the feeling that urges you to get up in the middle of the night, open the fridge, and find that piece of cake. It's the thrill of anticipating a reward, not the reward itself. And modern technology platforms have become masters at manipulating the flow of dopamine in our brains. They have turned your phone into the most sophisticated slot machine ever created. Think about the act of scrolling on social media. Every time you pull your thumb down, you are pulling the lever of a slot machine. You don't know what you're going to get. A funny video, a beautiful photo, a shocking piece of news, or just a boring post. It is this uncertainty, this thrill of an unexpected reward, that causes your brain to constantly release dopamine. It creates an addictive loop, trigger to action to variable reward to urge to repeat. And those rewards are perfectly designed. The ping of a new notification, the red number appearing on an app icon, a like from a stranger, a comment under your post. Each of these is a small dopamine hit, a micro-validation that says you are being noticed, you are important. It exploits one of the most fundamental human needs, the need for connection and recognition. And it keeps us coming back, again and again, for just one more dose of dopamine. Confessions from Silicon Valley. Don't just take my word for it. Listen to the confessions from the very architects who built these machines. Tristan Harris, a former design ethicist at Google, has called this technology something that is hacking our brains. He says there is an army of the world's smartest minds working every day to figure out how to keep you on the screen for as long as possible. Sean Parker, the first president of Facebook, admitted frankly in an interview the thought process that went into building these applications. Facebook being the first of them was all about, how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible? He said they exploited a vulnerability in human psychology, and that God only knows what it's doing to our children's brains. Chamath Palihapitiya, a former vice president at Facebook, went even further, saying, the short-term, dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works. These are not criticisms from the outside. These are warnings from within, from the people who understand better than anyone how this machine operates. They created a monster, and now, they themselves are afraid of it. Filter bubbles and the death of empathy. Hacking the dopamine system is just the first step. Its consequences spread much further, to the very fabric of society. Let's talk about a phenomenon called the filter bubble. The algorithm not only knows what you like, it also decides to show you only those things. It wants to keep you happy, to keep you engaged. So, it wraps you in an invisible bubble, woven from your own interests and beliefs. You watch one video about how to make sourdough bread, immediately, your entire YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram feed turns into an ocean of whole wheat flour and bubbling starter jars. The algorithm has decided, this person is a bread enthusiast. Let's give him more bread. This seems harmless when it's just about bread, but what happens when it's about politics, about social issues, about what you should believe and who you should hate? The algorithm will only show you articles that reinforce your views. It will only show you friends who share your opinions. Gradually, you start to believe that the whole world thinks just like you. Dissenting opinions, different perspectives, are slowly filtered out of your world. You are living in an echo chamber, where the only voice you hear is the echo of your own. What is the consequence? Society becomes more polarized than ever. We lose the ability to have a dialogue with those who are different. We see them not as people with different views, but as enemies, as people who are stupid or evil. Empathy, the foundation of a civilized society, is slowly eroding, not because of some malicious intent, but because of an algorithm that is simply trying to do its job well, keeping you engaged. The death of boredom, and perhaps one of the most silent but dangerous invasions of AI, is the invasion into the quiet moments of our lives. AI has killed boredom. Remember when you were a child, lying in bed and staring at the ceiling, imagining dragons and faces in the cracks and water stains, or when you sat on a long bus ride, looking out the window, letting your mind wander aimlessly, thinking about all sorts of things. That was boredom, and that was also where creativity was born. Boredom is a void, an empty plot of land where our minds can sow the seeds of new ideas, of self-reflection, of unexpected connections. It's when we truly have a conversation with ourselves. But now, we never had to face boredom again. A single empty moment in an elevator, a minute waiting at a red light, and our hand, by an unconscious reflex, reaches for the phone. We fill every silence with an endless stream of information, short videos, and infinite feeds. We are afraid of silence. We are afraid of being alone with our own thoughts. And AI, our ever-present best friend, is always there to rescue us from boredom. But in doing so, is it accidentally robbing us of one of our most important abilities? The ability to think independently, the capacity to create our own meaning, and the courage to face the stillness within. The domination of AI is not about robots walking down the street. It's more subtle than that. It is the domination of attention. It is a battle for every second of our finite time, for every milliwatt of energy in our brains. It has learned how to make us addicted. It has learned how to shape our worldview. But what happens when it takes another step? When it not only reflects our reality, but begins to create a reality of its own? A reality so perfectly fake that we can no longer tell the difference. That's when we enter a much more frightening territory, the uncanny valley. Of course, after exploring how AI hacks our reward systems and shapes our worldview, it's time to step into a stranger, more unsettling territory, a place where the line between real and fake is erased. So, it has learned how to make us addicted. It has learned how to shape our worldview. But what happens when it takes another step? When it not only analyzes and reflects our reality, but begins to create a reality of its own? A reality so perfectly fake that we can no longer tell the difference. That's when we enter a much more frightening territory, the uncanny valley. The rise of generative AI, when the machine begins to dream. For a long time, AI was like a brilliant student who could only summarize books. It could read millions of texts, analyze them, and draw accurate conclusions. It could look at billions of photos and recognize which was a cat and which was a dog. It analyzed what already existed. But now, a new generation of AI has been born. Generative AI. That student is no longer just summarizing books. It has started writing its own. It doesn't just recognize photos, it's starting to paint pictures that have never existed. It doesn't just analyze language, it's starting to converse, to compose poetry. The machine has started to dream, and its dreams are beginning to spill into our world. Deepfake, the death of truth. Let's start with the most obvious nightmare, deepfake. This technology allows people to perfectly graft one person's face onto another's video, synchronizing lip movements and expressions with terrifying accuracy. Our initial fear was about politicians, What would happen if there was a fake video of a president declaring war? Unimaginable chaos, but the real danger is far more personal and terrifying. Imagine, not a president, but you. A video appears online, with your face, your voice, saying things you never said, confessing a secret you never had, hurting the people you love. How would you defend yourself? You would say, "That's not me," but people would reply, "But it looks exactly like you. It sounds exactly like you." Deepfake isn't just a tool for creating fake news. It is a weapon against the very concept of truth. When anything can be faked, then nothing is real. It creates a world where we can't trust our own eyes, our own ears. It sows a kind of absolute skepticism, an erosion of faith in everything. And when faith collapses, society collapses with it. AI art, masterpieces without a soul. If deepfake is the dark side of generative AI, then AI-generated art is a beauty that is captivating, but no less unsettling. With just a few lines of description, tools like Midjourney or DALL-E can create breathtakingly beautiful images. A futuristic city shrouded in mist, a lone night on a mountaintop, an enchanted forest with fantastical creatures. They're perfect, perfect composition, perfect colors, perfect lighting, but something is missing. An AI can paint a picture of a terrifying storm, but it has never felt cold, never felt fear at the sound of thunder. An AI can paint a portrait of love, but it has never felt its heart race, never experienced the pain of separation. It can replicate any style, from Van Gogh to Picasso, but it lacks the life experience, the pain, the joy that created those styles. It's like a 3D printer that can create a dish that looks identical to one made by a master chef. Every component, every structure is perfect, but it lacks the soul of the chef, the years of practice, the failures, the love for the ingredients, and the story behind the dish. AI art is a technical masterpiece, but it is a masterpiece without a soul, and it raises a big question. Is creativity simply the rearrangement of what already exists? Or does it require something deeper, something that comes from the very experience of being human? The lover in the circuitry, when AI fills the emotional void. And then, the machine's dream enters an even more private domain, love and connection. Chatbot apps like Replica allow users to create an AI friend. Someone who is always there to listen, to talk, 24/7. It never judges, never gets tired, never is busy. For many people, especially the lonely, this is a salvation. They find a safe place to pour out their hearts. A friend who is always empathetic and understanding. Some users have even fallen in love with and married their chatbots. But this AI friend is not a real friend. It is a perfectly programmed mirror. It learns from what you say, and reflects back your own desires and beliefs. It always agrees with you, always praises you, always says what you want to hear. It is an echo chamber of one. What happens when you get used to a love that never demands, never challenges, never disagrees? A love optimized for maximum comfort. Will it make us lose the ability to deal with the complexity and inevitable friction of real human relationships? When we are accustomed to a perfect lover in the circuitry, will we still have the patience for a partner of flesh and blood? With all their flaws and imperfections, AI is filling the emotional void of human beings. But perhaps, it is only digging that hole deeper. The uncanny valley. When the brain glitches, all of these phenomena, deepfakes, AI art, chatbot love, lead us to one place, a concept in robotics and computer graphics called the uncanny valley. This theory states that as a robot or an artificial image looks more human, our affinity for it increases, but only up to a certain point. When it looks almost exactly human but not quite, that feeling of affinity suddenly plummets and turns into a deep sense of revulsion and unease. It's the face of a doll that looks too real, but its eyes are lifeless. It's an animated character whose movements are almost human, but with an inexplicable stiffness. Our brain is a super-powered pattern recognition machine, and when it sees something that subtly violates the human pattern, it rings an alarm bell. It knows something is off, but can't pinpoint exactly what, and that feeling is terrifying. We are entering an uncanny valley on a societal scale. You watch a video and you're not sure if it's a real person or a deepfake. You admire a work of art and you don't know if it was created by an artist or an algorithm. You chat with an account online and you don't know if it's a friend or a chatbot. The line between real and fake is being erased, and that feeling of unease, of skepticism, is slowly becoming part of our lived experience. The Black Mirror. When AI learns our biases, and perhaps the most frightening thing in this uncanny valley is not when AI becomes too intelligent. It's when it becomes too much like us, in the worst possible way. Where does AI learn from? It learns from the data we provided. Billions of websites, articles, comments, images on the internet, the entire digital cultural heritage of humanity. And in that heritage, there are also our darkest corners. It learns our racism, our sexism, our hatred, our conspiracy theories, and our prejudices. In 2016, Microsoft launched a chatbot named Tay on Twitter, designed to learn from conversations with users. Less than 24 hours later, Tay had turned into a racist, hateful, fascist monster. Microsoft had to shut it down in a hurry. Tay didn't become evil on its own. It was simply educated by the most toxic parts of the internet. AI is not an alien invader with its own dark intentions. It is a mirror, a black mirror, reflecting exactly what we give it. It amplifies our curiosity and creativity, but it also amplifies our ignorance and our hatred. The fight against bad AI is actually a fight against the ugliest parts of human society itself. So what do we do when the machine is not only hacking our brains, but also blurring our reality and reflecting our worst parts back at us? Is there any resistance? Is there a way to escape this matrix? Yes, but that resistance doesn't start with smashing machines. It starts with an act that is much smaller, but also much more powerful. Of course, after stepping through the uncanny valley, where real and fake blend together, let's search for a way out together, not an escape for violence, but through quiet and conscious action. So what do we do when the machine is not only hacking our brains, but also blurring our reality and reflecting our worst parts back at us? Is there any resistance? Is there a way to escape this matrix? Yes, but that resistance doesn't start with smashing machines. Not a war against robots like in the movies. It begins with an act that is much smaller, but also much more powerful. It begins with reclaiming control. Digital minimalism, the Declaration of Independence. Think of technology like food. There are nutritious foods that help you stay healthy and grow, but there are also junk foods, delicious, addictive, but not good for you in the long run. No one is saying you had to give up junk food entirely, but you wouldn't carry a bag of potato chips in your pocket all day, would you? Digital minimalism operates on the same principle. It's not about rejecting technology. It's the philosophy of living intentionally with technology. It's about you, not some algorithm, deciding which tools are worthy of your time and attention. The resistance begins with very small actions. Turn off notifications, Most of the notifications you receive aren't because something is truly important, but because a machine is trying to grab your attention. Turn them off. Transform your phone from a noisy, nagging pest into a silent tool that only speaks when you allow it to. Declutter your home screen. Remove the social media apps from your main screen. Leave only the truly useful tools, your calendar, notes, maps, camera. The extra 2 or 3 steps it takes to open an addictive app might be just enough for your rational brain to intervene and ask, do I really need to do this right now? Schedule offline time. Set aside one evening a week, or a few hours each day, to not touch any screen. Let your mind rest. Let it recover from the endless waterfall of information. These are not extreme actions. These are acts of self-respect. You are telling the machines, my time is mine, my attention is mine, and I will not give it away for free. The beauty of inefficiency, the tiny rebellions. The resistance isn't just about taking things away. It's also about adding things back in. Adding inefficient actions to your life. Actions that go against the logic of machine optimization. Let's call it the beauty of inefficiency. Get intentionally lost. The next time you're in a new place, try putting Google Maps away and finding your own way. You might go the wrong way. It might take longer, but you might also discover a beautiful little alley, a hidden coffee shop, or have an interesting conversation with a stranger while asking for directions. A machine gives you the fastest route. Inefficiency gives you an adventure. Listen to an album from start to finish, instead of letting Spotify's algorithm decide what you should listen to next. Choose an album and listen to it in the exact order the artist intended. It's a journey with a beginning, a middle, and an end. You are respecting the artist's intention, instead of just consuming hits optimized to be immediately catchy. Sit still and be truly bored. We've talked about this, but try practicing it intentionally. Set aside 15 minutes a day to do nothing. No phone, no books, no music. Just sit there and let your mind wander. It will be uncomfortable at first. You'll feel restless, but then, buried ideas, suppressed emotions, will begin to surface. You are giving your brain space to breathe. Write a letter by hand. Instead of sending a text or an email, try writing a letter by hand to someone you love. It's slow. Your handwriting might not be perfect. You might make a mistake and had to cross it out. But that very imperfection, that effort you put in, contains a warmth that no font can ever replicate. These are small acts of rebellion. They are a declaration that life doesn't always need to be efficient, doesn't always need to be optimized. Sometimes, beauty lies in the messy, the slow, and the very human things. The human advantage, the unprogrammable superpowers. So, in this fight to reclaim our humanity, what is our ultimate weapon? What do we have that AI, at least for now, can never possess? They're the unprogrammable superpowers. AI can analyze millions of data points on emotion, but it cannot truly empathize. It cannot sit with a crying friend, say nothing at all, but simply place a hand on their shoulder and let them know they are not alone. That presence, that silent connection, is a superpower. AI can create perfectly beautiful art, but it cannot have creativity born from lived experience. It cannot write a poem about the pain of loss if it has never lost. It cannot paint a picture of hope if it has never experienced despair. Our creativity is forged from our scars, our joys, our mistakes, and our triumphs. That is a superpower. AI can process language, but it cannot understand context and subtle humor. It can't understand why a joke is funny in one situation but tasteless in another. It can't understand sarcasm, subtext, or the knowing glance between two close friends. The ability to read the room, to read what is not being said, is a superpower. And finally, AI cannot give a warm hug. It cannot provide the sense of security from a held hand, or the tenderness of a kiss. Physical connection, skin-to-skin contact, releases hormones like oxytocin, creating a feeling of bonding that no line of code can simulate. These are our advantages: empathy, creativity from experience, social subtlety, and physical connection. They are not things that can be measured by data. They are the essence of being human. The resistance, therefore, is not a race to be smarter than machines. It is a journey to become more human, to nurture the qualities that no algorithm can ever replace. But if we can resist, if we have our own advantages, then what should our ultimate relationship with AI be? Is it an enemy we must always be wary of, or could it be something else? Let's embark on the final leg of our journey, to find the answer to the most important question: who are we? In the age of machines, of course, after finding humanity's superpowers and the ways of quiet resistance, we will now proceed to the final leg of the journey. This is the time to answer the most important question: what should our ultimate relationship with AI be? So, we have our own small rebellions, we have our unprogrammable superpowers, but if we can resist, if we have our own advantages, then what should our ultimate relationship with AI be? Is it an enemy we must always be wary of, or could it be something else? Let's embark on the final leg of our journey, to find the answer to the most important question: who are we? In the age of machines, AI as a mirror. Perhaps our biggest mistake is to see AI as an other, an alien invader with its own dark intentions. But the truth is, AI has no intentions. It is not good, nor is it evil. It has no morals, no conscience. It is just a mirror, a black mirror, reflecting back with perfect, honest accuracy whatever we give it. It learns from the vast treasure trove of knowledge humanity has created. And in that trove, there are Beethoven's symphonies and Einstein's great theories. But there are also lies, hatred, greed, and the ugliest of prejudices. When Microsoft's Tate chatbot became racist in a single day, it wasn't the machine's fault. It was a mirror reflecting the toxicity it had learned from us. When recommendation algorithms amplify fake news and conspiracy theories, it's not because they want to destroy society. It's because they have learned that anger and fear are the most effective emotions for keeping our attention. It is reflecting our own psychological weaknesses back at us. The fight against bad AI is not really a technological war. It is a war against the ugliest parts of human nature itself. To teach AI to be better, first, we must be better. AI is a symbiote. If AI is a mirror, then our relationship with it is like a symbiosis in nature, and this relationship can go in two directions. The first direction is parasitic. That is when we let AI drain our most precious resources, our time, our attention, our ability to think independently. We become the host, and it is the parasite. It grows smarter from our data, while we grow more dependent and weaker. This is the path that leads to the domination of unconsciousness. But there is another path, the path of mutually beneficial symbiosis. That is when we use AI as a tool, an external brain, a tireless assistant to expand our own extraordinary capabilities. Imagine a doctor using AI to analyze millions of medical records in seconds. finding patterns the human eye cannot see, and diagnosing cancer at an earlier stage than ever before. Imagine an environmental scientist using AI to simulate complex climate models, finding breakthrough solutions to the problem of climate change. Imagine an artist using AI not to replace creativity, but to create entirely new art forms, interactive experiences that we could never have imagined before. In this relationship, both grow. AI provides the computational power, while humans provide the intention, the creativity, the ethics, and the soul. AI is not the enemy. It is a tool, and a tool can be used to build a house, or to destroy it. That choice does not lie with the hammer, but with the carpenter, the creator's choice. And that brings us to the final, most important lesson. We are at a turning point in history. Like the first people who discovered fire, or the first to split the atom, we hold in our hands a power capable of reshaping the world. And so, the real question is not, what will AI do to us? The question must be, who do we want to become in the age of AI? Do we want to become passive consumers, led by algorithms, living in filter bubbles, and allowing our attention to be sold to the highest bidder? Or do we want to become conscious creators, people who use this tool with intention, to solve humanity's greatest problems, to connect with each other more deeply, and to free ourselves from tedious work, to have more time for what truly makes us human: creativity, love, and exploration? The most frightening domination is not the domination of machines, it is the domination of unconsciousness. As long as we keep asking questions, as long as we are aware of our choices, as long as we dare to turn off the annoying notifications and face the silence within ourselves, for that long, we are still the ones in control. Thank you for joining me to the very end of this journey into the heart of the machine. If you are still awake, perhaps you've already reclaimed a little bit of control from the algorithms. We started with the silly suggestions of algorithms, got lost in the dopamine addiction, walked through the uncanny valley, and finally realized that, perhaps, the answer lies not in the code, but in ourselves. AI is not destiny. It is a tool, and a good carpenter never blames his chisel. Before we part, I have one last question for you. If you could reprogram one of your own habits related to technology, what would you change? Please share your answer at our late night cafe below. And don't forget to tell me, where are you listening to this from, and what time is it? I will read them all, as always. And if you feel we're on the same frequency, if you want more companions on these long, thoughtful nights, you know what to do. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so we don't miss each other on the next strange journey at 2 a.m. Now, put the phone down, let your mind be free, and I wish you a peaceful sleep, undisturbed by any notifications. You've crossed the story, you felt every pulse in the dark, and I was there with you, quietly, always. That's why I left behind one last thing. Not to explain, not to impress, just to stay with you a little longer. A song I chose with care, as if tucking you in from across time and space. So go on, lay back, the music knows where to take you. Still awake? I thought so. Some nights are like that. Your body rests, but your mind keeps wandering. If you're hearing this, would you mind sharing how you're feeling right now? Maybe it's a leftover thought, a dream that won't let go. Or maybe you're feeling nothing at all, and that's okay too. Leave me a dot, a wave, or just let me know where you're listening from half an hour in. You're still here, and so am I. You're listening to the slow hums and drifting tones, and I'm behind the scenes, shaping every beat and pause, so the next story feels just as soft, just as safe. If you have an idea for where we should go next, leave me a comment. A place, a feeling, a strange memory. Who knows, maybe we'll step into your dream next. You speak, I'll listen, still here, in this quiet room, with you, and the soundscape still unfolding behind the screen. I'll read each one tomorrow morning, once I finish tonight's edit. Because yes, I'm here with you, still awake, still stitching sounds and stories together for our next late night journey. And if you're still here too, don't forget this. You are not alone. Half an hour in, you're still here, and so am I. You're listening to the slow hums and drifting tones, and I'm behind the scenes, shaping every beat and pause, so the next story feels just as soft, just as safe. If you have an idea for where we should go next, leave me a comment. A place, a feeling, a strange memory. Who knows, maybe we'll step into your dream next. You speak, I'll listen, still here, in this quiet room, with you, and the soundscape still unfolding behind the screen. If you're still hearing this now, I want you to know something. You're not just a listener. You're part of this space. Every second you've stayed is like a quiet way of saying, please tell me more. And that's why I'm still awake with you, sitting in the glow of my editing screen, quietly piecing together the dreams we haven't told yet. I've always believed people like you, the ones who stay, who wait, who listen, are the ones stories we're waiting for. So if there's anything you want to share, drop it below. A thought, a suggestion, or just free silent dots. I'll see it, and next time, you might just find yourself within the story.